So we're still on subqueries, and remember we mentioned that there are three scenarios where you can use subqueries. In the last video, we talked about how we can use subqueries in the select statement. In this video, we are going to be particularly talking about how we can use subqueries after the from keyword, right? And let's go to pgadmin. So now, this is what we did in the last video. We queried the pizza table where we got the pizza ID, size, price, and we wrote a subquery to get the average price, right? And that's for scenario one, like we said. Now for scenario two, let's take this out. We don't need this, and I'll just move my face. For scenario two is writing subqueries after the from keyword. Now what does this do? Just put it simply, what in this case, this happens when we want to query the result of another query. So there are two queries. Remember, I said when we have subqueries, we have two queries, the main query and the subquery. Now in this case, the main query queries the result of the subquery. So instead of querying a table itself, so you know every query queries a table, most queries query a table. So select star from a particular table. But in this case, the main table is querying the result of the second of the subquery. And let me just show us the syntax. The syntax is going to be something like this. I'm just going to close my comments here. Let's go back up. The syntax would be something like this. Will be select from let's say select star. Let's say select column name. Well, let's just say star. Select star from. Now instead of table name, we're going to be selecting star from. Remember, we are writing subqueries after the from keyword from a subquery. And remember, our subqueries go in brackets. From in brackets, select from table name column 1 column 2 etc. So this is really how the syntax looks like. So we are selecting everything from this subquery, right? So select star from this whole subquery, right? And let's do an example just to practicalize. Let's say I'm given a challenge to find the average price. So let's find the average price of all pizza types yes, of all pizza type or pizza ID. Let's use pizza ID so we easily understand. Of all pizza ID that begin with the letter T, right? So this is a challenge, right? I could think of many ways to go about this, but I want to use subqueries, right? So the question is, okay, let's put in the pizzas table just so we know where to check. In the pizzas table. Now the challenge is to find the average price of all the pizza ID that begin with letter T in the pizzas table. Now, I could, if I want to, so let's see what's in the pizzas table first. So select from pizzas. Right, let's see what's in there. Select star from pizzas. And if I run this, And we can see this is everything in pizzas, right? Pizza ID, pizza type, ID, size, and price. Now, if I want the average price of all the pizza ID, and I'm not really concerned about which one starts with letter T, all I have to do, like we did in the first example, is just AVG average and pizza, or price rather, price. And that will give me 16 point. We did that before. That will give me 16 point something. It will give me 16 point something. So let's run that. Like I said, 16.44. That's the average price. But now we can't do it this way. We want the pizza IDs that begin with the letter T, right? So first of all, let's find all the pizza that begin with letter T, right? So we can say select star, right, from pizzas. Where, remember the where clause to filter, where pizza ID, like, remember wildcards, we talk about wildcards, like T, I'm going to use small letter T, and I'm going to use the percent sign to show that there are many values, that there could be many values after T or many characters after T. But I want T to start with T. And if I run this, now, I can see all the pizzas names that start with T, right? So now what I want is I want to see the average price, right? I could do and say select average price like this, and it will still give me the same thing, but I want to use subqueries, right? So I want to say select, I'll put this in a cell. So let's move this down a bit. So I could say, let's move this down a bit and say select from my subquery, right? Select from, a subquery has to be in bracket. And what's going to be in my subquery? This other table. And you remember this query here will give me this table, right? So I'm going to make this my subquery because I want to query just this filtered table. I want to query this filtered table. And this query gives me this filtered table. So I'm just going to copy this and put it as my subquery. So Control X and place it as my subquery. Yeah, right. Now, there has to be an alias. So my subquery has to have an alias in this case, right? So I could just say as subquery. Let's say subquery. So if I say select star from this guy, it's still going to give me this table because I'm saying select everything from this table. So if I run this, just highlight. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's an error. I kept there shouldn't be that semicolon because it's a subquery and that signifies the end of a query in total. So let's remove that and let's run again. So it gives me that same table now. That means I'm querying this table now, right? So what if I want to see just the pizza ID and the price? So I can say select pizza ID, comma, and price from this guy here, this subquery here, right? So let's highlight and run. And we can just get what we want, right, from the filtered table. So what the question wants us to do is to find the average price, right? So all we have to just do is say average, AVG, and price, right? And then we can run this now. And this is the average price for all the pizza IDs that start with the letter T. notice the average price for every pizza ID is 16 point something, while for all the ones that start with letter T is about 20 point something, right? So that answers this question. So remember I said the main query, the outer query, is querying the results of the inner query, right? So we had the inner query, and it's always advisable to write your subqueries first. I always do it. Just write my subqueries first so I know what's in the inner query, and then I can write my outer query. So I wrote my outer query to get me that filtered table, and then I wrote my inner query, rather my subquery, to get me that filtered table, and I'm finding the average price. So that's subqueries in or after the from keyword. In the next video, we'll be looking at how to use the subquery in a where clause itself. So stay tuned and see you then. Thank you.